We talked earlier about Derek Carr and what Derek Carr should think about this and whether or not it's a threat to Derek Carr. And of course it isn't an immediate threat to Derek Carr as a starter of the team. On that point, here's Josh McDaniels from Thursday on whether or not he talked to Derek Carr about giving Colin Kaepernick a workout.
I think Derek's pretty comfortable with where he's at. I think he knows who he is for us. I know he knows how I feel about him, how we feel about him, and I don't think that's really a big thing to Derek at this point. I think he knows this is his football team, and and he's working like it on the field, and he's leading the way that we want him to lead, and he's doing all the right things. I couldn't ask more from Derek Carr, and very pleased with what he's doing so far.
Yeah, and look, and that makes sense. And one of the things we discussed yesterday in the aftermath of the workout, the best place for Colin Kaepernick is a place where there's an entrenched starter who won't be threatened by the presence of Colin Kaepernick, and who also is secure enough that he can deal with the fact that there's a bigger crowd of reporters talking to the backup quarterback than there are talking to the starter. And Carr, between the fact that they traded for the guy that he wanted on the team in Davante Adams, that shows that they believe in Carr. They gave him a new contract. Now that contract does have an escape hatch after this season if they really want to use it. But for now, obviously, it's Carr's team. Carr's the guy. Kaepernick isn't a threat. If at some point Kaepernick starts lighting it up in practice, then it gets very interesting. And Kaepernick himself, Peter, this was from that I Am Athlete podcast interview. And I think this actually may have limited the number of teams that would be interested because he said, I know I have to find my way back in. So yeah, if I have to come in as a backup, that's fine. But that's not where I'm staying. When I prove I'm a starter, I want to be able to step on the field as such. That puts him, there's two types of backup quarterbacks in the NFL. There's the guy who knows he's the backup and is happy to be the backup, the Nick Foles to Matt Ryan. Nick Foles made it clear this week, I'm the backup to Matt Ryan. I know that. I'm not trying to take over. Then there's the backup who isn't content to be the backup and is doing everything he can to take over for the starter. So that mindset, that's the only thing that would give me pause in a place like Las Vegas or really anywhere. Unless there is no chance, no way in hell this guy's going to ever be as good as the starter, I'm leery unless I want that competition. Unless I need that competition, Seattle, Carolina, Houston. Unless I need that Miami. Unless I want that competition and need that competition. In Miami, they don't. They're trying to prop up Tua. But my point is, that's a dynamic that you have to accept because he said it himself. And that's a football reason. That's not, we shouldn't get caught up in these improper reasons. This is the proper reason to have pause because his mindset may not mesh with what you're trying to construct on your quarterback depth chart.
There's a couple of things about what you just said. Number one, I do think that anybody who would sign Kaepernick would have to have a conversation with him about, especially in this case, hey, look, in the next year, I mean, we're basically paying Derek Carr like a franchise quarterback. And again, yes, you're right. They can get out of it this year and have whatever it is, a $6 million dead cap hit in 2023. But they didn't sign Derek Carr to that contract with the thought that 9 months from now, we're going to be looking for another quarterback. They signed him to that deal because they think that he's going to be their guy going forward. And McDaniels has been working with him for that express reason. But I think there has to be a clear understanding that we want you to help us win. And when we say we want you to help us win, we want you to help Derek Carr. What do you see that might be able to help him? We want you in a week where, you might have to play scout team quarterback, and maybe that's every week. But we want you in a week that you have to play scout team quarterback to be the best damn scout team quarterback in the NFL. And so there are going to be those conversations that would have to happen, I think, before any team signed him. But I'll just say one other thing based on what you just said, Mike. My feeling is that I don't want somebody on my team. I don't want Colin Kaepernick. If he says, I'm going to be very happy being the backup, All I want to do is go in and help John Doe win. That's all I want to do. I am not going to be a squeaky wheel. I'm not going to do this. I'm not, I want somebody who's going to say, I'm going to get in there as a backup quarterback, but my goal is to be a starter. I got a lot of good years left of being a quarterback. I'm not a clipboard carrying guy. I'm going to work as hard as I can to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So, honestly, what he said, and I heard that a couple of weeks ago, what he had said in that podcast, and I said, that's what I would want my quarterback to say.
But there are teams that have backups who understand, and they want it this way, where the guy is the backup. There's a clear delineation between 1 and 2. Now, what he could be saying is, I'll come in as a backup for one team with the idea of becoming the starter somewhere else, but then you get into contractual niceties. Because, look, Peter, if the Raiders are very happy with him as the backup, they're just going to hand him away to some other team. If there's an opportunity for him to go start, is he going to walk into Dave Ziegler or Josh McDaniels and say, the Bears had an injury over the weekend to Justin Fields, and he's out for the year. And I hate to mention specific names because then I get blamed for jinxing a guy. But there's a starter somewhere else. Forget what I just said. There's a starter somewhere else who's been injured, and there's an opportunity, and maybe they want me. Would you trade me there? And they're going to say, no, you're a damn good backup. We need you in case the injury happens here. So that's where it gets a little bit dicey, but I hear what you're saying. Look, you want everybody on your team to have the mindset of compete. I remember how Matt Hasselbeck's mindset used to be when he was the backup to Andrew Luck. It wasn't, I'm here to serve you. It's, I'm here to push you. And I'm going to push you, and I'm going to push you as hard as I can, and I'm going to act like I'm trying to beat you out and get you benched because it's going to make you better. So there is a way to spin that in a positive way, and there is a way to use that. And look, if Josh McDaniels learned a few things from Bill Belichick over the years, one of them is it doesn't hurt to have a guy around that puts a little heat on the rear end of the starter, like Jimmy Garoppolo to Tom Brady. Doesn't hurt to have a guy like that around. Peyton Manning, they never drafted quarterbacks when Peyton Manning was in Indianapolis. Could not potentially in any way do anything to threaten Peyton Manning. Tom Brady, you look at the list, they're drafting quarterbacks all the time. They always had a guy they were developing. They always had a guy there that, hey, Tom, if you slip, we have an alternative. So I agree with you. There is a way to thread that needle and harmonize what Colin Kaepernick wants with what a team is looking for. But the clock is ticking. He's 34. He doesn't want to go somewhere, and he probably wouldn't sign anything more than a one-year contract for that purpose. You have that 1 year where you prove yourself through being kind of like Mitch Trubisky. Like, what the hell did Mitch Trubisky do in Buffalo last year to prove himself? He didn't play. But it was that 1 year where he goes and all the reports are good and he's doing well at practice and he did great when he had a chance in the preseason. That's enough of a body of work to get him the opportunity the following year. And I think that's the best case scenario for Colin Kaepernick. Go somewhere, be the backup, play in the preseason, get the Mitch Trubisky effect where then when next March rolls around, somebody jumps on you with a quarterback contract that gives you an opportunity to be the starter the following year, even if they would draft somebody like the Steelers did.
Isn't it bizarre, by the way, how the fact that Mitch Trubisky's image and his reputation have really been polished up by a year sitting on the bench somewhere? And I know that that's not what is in this block of time to discuss, but one of the things that really surprised me in the wake of my ranking the teams 1 to 32 last week, I had the Steelers 23. I had them the last team in the division. And one of the reasons, obviously, is that I have no idea if they have a quarterback on their team. How can you know? And everybody, thinks that, okay, a second chance. Trubisky's going to be good this time. Well, we watched him for 4 years. And I'm not saying that it's hopeless. I'm saying I think it's a decent opportunity to see if the guy can be rehabbed and play in your offense. But, man, that has really blown me away, this new faith in Mitchell Trubisky that he suddenly is going to be the guy. But anyway, we'll see.
That 1 year in Buffalo, the ultimate football palate cleanser, a small dish of chicken wing flavored sorbet for the career of Mitchell Trubisky as he moves on to the next course. Before we move on to the next segment, 2 teams, I'm told, were interested in Colin Kaepernick before the Raiders workout. So the next question as we go into Memorial Day weekend, will those 2 teams feel emboldened, empowered, encouraged to maybe bring in Colin Kaepernick next for a workout? That's the question to be determined as the dust settles on one of the most surprising developments of the offseason, that anyone after 5 years has given Colin Kaepernick a chance, a long overdue chance to come in and show what he can do. All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.